Hello class and welcome to Language Arts once again. Let's look at this letter here to start with. See our letters, we don't want to forget our penmanship and being careful at forming our letters correctly. So let's just review this and do a couple rows or two of a couple letters that I want to go over today. We start here with Y, and if you can see that all right, we go down, curve back up, come back around, touch the bottom, sit right on the line, go up, retrace, down, and come around this way, and up and into the next letter, if there's another letter in your word. Lowercase y, where that dot is where, of course, where you start. Up, down, curve around this way, and then up and into the next letter. Hopefully that you've got that. Maybe you want to write the word yellow and connecting it. So do a row of those and then think of a word and write a word like the word yellow on a piece of paper. Now just take a minute to do that. Wouldn't take long anyway. Might take more than 1 minute, but not long. And then go down with Z, up, curve around, down, bounce up. Do that, and then come down, curve around this way, and into the next letter. Notice the slant. Same with Y. Y and Z, very similar the way that they start, and the tail that's at the bottom. Let's go to lowercase z now. We start there at the dot, go up, down, bounce up, down, come around this way and into the next letter. Notice how wide those are. Notice the slant and the shape, both of Z and Y, very similar as far as the tail and how they start, at least with the capital ones. All right? But all of them have a tail, don't they? That goes down into what you might call the basement downstairs. So be working on those and do a super job. I think you know how to do those, but just practice good penmanship and letter formation. Now we're going to go on and do a little bit of reading, go over a few words and some questions to some of the reading that you read from last time. So you will see the vocabulary words. Let's just quickly go over them. Acknowledge, to admit, to be true, to confess. Conceited, prideful, vain. Conceited, custodian, a janitor. Custodian, emerge, to come into view. Emerge, grimy, smudged all over with dirt. Grimy, scarcely, almost did not, barely. Surge, to rush forward. Surge, and survey, to inspect carefully. Now let's think about these for just a moment. I acknowledged my sin before God, right? I've confessed that. Conceited, the conceited man thought too highly of himself. Custodian, the custodian cleaned the bathroom. Custodian. The turtle emerged from his hiding in the bushes. Grimy, the grimy old rag fell in the mud or something like that. Scarcely, we scarcely escaped from the robbers. Surge. Let's think about that word surge, to rush forward. You could say the army surged or the water surged from the fountain. Survey. I love to survey the terrain of the mountains, right? Survey. So I like to use them in sentences and you'll come across them in your book. And then of course we have some reading here. You read the story of the middle bear. Why was the play, The Three Bears, being given? Why was it being given? And Logan, what is the answer? What do you think? Did you say to help raise money for the parish house or something to that effect? And if you did, you are correct. Colin, how about number 2? Why did Joey and Jane not feel self-conscious about being in this play? Normally you'd be maybe nervous about being in front of people. So why would they, even though they were still nervous, they didn't feel quite so much that way. Self-conscious, meaning you're really concerned about, someone's watching you or what they're thinking. Yes, did you say that because they'd be wearing the bear heads, the costumes, they wouldn't be able to tell who it was, so you'd be less self-conscious. Number 3, after searching frantically for her bear head, when it was time for the play, where did Jane finally see it? Alice, what do you think? Naomi, what do you think? Jocelyn, what do you think? Skylar, what do you think? Did all of you say that they found the bear head on a post of the bed? Because that is the correct answer. Are you remembering all of this from the story? Are you comprehending the story and remembering what the story is about? How did Jane make sure that the play went on? What did she say? She said, class, what is it? Somebody has been trying on my head, and there it is. And grab the head and put it on. That's what she said. And then she made sure it was on. So hopefully you did that. Then there was this poem that you read, The Furry Bear, fun poem. Hope you enjoyed that. By A.A. Milne, the same person that wrote Winnie the Pooh. See? If I were a bear, and a big bear too, I shouldn't much care if it froze or snoo. I shouldn't much mind if it snowed or frizz. I'd be all fur-lined with a coat like his. For I'd have fur boots and a brown fur wrap, and brown fur knickers and a big fur cap. I have a fur muffle ruff to cover my jaws, and brown fur mittens on my big brown paws. With the big brown furry down up to my head, I'd sleep all the winter in a big fur bed. By A.A. Milne. Knickers are short pants that gather at the knee. Maybe those short pants. Right, and there you have it. And you won't have any reading more, just doing that and going over that. But next time you're welcome to read ahead to the next story, but that will be for the next time when we do that. All right? Now for the remainder of our time, we're going to be looking at language. That's what we definitely need to focus on. And we're going to go over some things. And I think I'll grab a few of these things here and maybe just sit here so that you can, it's a little bit closer this way. And let's review some of the word usage, subject and verb agreement. Here is or are Tom and Joe. Here is or are Tom and Joe. Would you say here is? First of all, we need to figure out, along with the verb, it's going to be one of these, what the subject is. Is here the subject? No. Here is never the subject, is it? Here and there is never the subject. So you need to remember that. Don't ever underline if they ask you to underline here or there. So it's going to be a word after the verb. Tom and Joe. And don't go too quickly that you miss a compound, right? A compound subject. Tom, Joe is, Tom and Joe are here. You could turn it around. Tom and Joe are here, right? And it would be are, plural. Even though Tom is singular, even though Joe is singular, together they're plural. And so you have a plural verb form. Where was or were you? Where was you or where were you? Now that probably you could tell. Where were you? You whether it's you singular or you plural, you use the plural form, were. Ducks and chickens was in the yard. Ducks and chickens were in the yard. And that one's not too hard because it's plural, right? The ducks and chickens were in the yard. The man with many hats is or are here. Is it is or are? Raise your hand if you think it's is. Raise your hand if you think it's are. Don't be fooled by the word hats being close to the verb. The hats are right, but what is the subject? What is or are here? Or who is or are here? Man, or is it hats? Now remember what we said about prepositional phrases? With is a preposition, with many hats. Therefore, this hats cannot be the subject because it's in a prepositional phrase. The preposition, and it follows the preposition. It's the object of the preposition. It is not the subject. So man is, right? And that's the one. Are you with me? Logan, are you with me? All right. Everyone staying with me and paying attention and listening very carefully. A fox and a squirrel is or are near that tree. A fox and a squirrel. Now don't let the singular forms here fool you. Is or are near that tree. Would you say is or are? If you said are, you are correct. Why? Why is it are and not is? Fox is singular, but fox and squirrel together, plural. So a fox and a squirrel are near that tree. Now, if you're rushing through your work, going quickly, you're going, oh, okay, I'm going to underline all of them. And then you underline one, you keep going, and you say, oh yeah, fox is. And you don't read carefully, then you could miss it. So you want to make sure you don't go too fast, that you don't catch that there could be another one. Always look, read the sentence a couple times before going to the next one. And then hopefully you'll get it and you won't. So don't rush through, please. And then you'll do a good job, all right? So that's that. Let's review something else. These troublesome verbs, lie, lying, lay, have lain. This word lie means to rest or recline. Lie, lying, lay, have lain. I lie down when I go to bed. I am lying down, right? Yesterday I lay down for an hour. I did it in the past, it's lay. I have lain there many times before. Now the hardest part is this past tense lay, because it's the present tense of another verb to put or place something. I can lay that on the table, you see, and that's why it's so troublesome. Lay, laying, laid, have laid. I lay it on the table, right? I lay that on the counter every day before I take my pill or medicine or whatever. Laying, laid it down. I laid it down. I have laid it down there somewhere. Okay. So these two are the same word, and that's why it's troublesome. So you just need to really think about it when doing that one. And here we have some here. We have it illustrated. Oh, look. To lie is to rest or recline, but to lay is to put or place something very similar to the word set, like we had talked about before. Well, that takes us to the new part. This is what's going to be new on your page today as you do page 244 and 245. I don't do it yet. Look here. Look here. I want to go over these to make sure you understand them and learn them. And we're going to be reviewing these the next time too. Accept, 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 accept. There is a difference between these two words. Accept, A-C-C, and accept, E-X-C. Okay. EX, see the difference? Accept means to receive, to agree. I accept it. I accept that. You give me a gift, I accept that gift. I accept the terms and conditions, maybe. I agree to something. I accept that. But this accept, EX, excluding, notice it starts EX as well, to exclude, in exclusion of that. In other words, do all of those math problems except that one, excluding that one. You see that? So you see the difference there? That's the difference between accept and accept. Accept, accept that one, right? So that's the difference there. Let's go to the next one. Affect, effect, or effect. Affect, effect, or effect. One's with an A, one's with an E. The one with an A, affect, is a verb meaning to influence, to act upon. But effect is a noun, is a result or consequence. This is troublesome too to people, misusing them and writing the incorrect word in a sentence. Which one is it? If it's used as a verb, that's the easiest way to think about it. If it's used as a verb, write affect with an A. If it's used as a noun, write effect with an E, and then you'll get it right. So to influence, for example, I can't help but think of this virus right now. This virus is affecting us very much. It's affecting our life, isn't it? Affect. It's influencing us, right? You would use the word affect in that sentence. But I could also say that the virus, or let's change that to a different sentence. Let's say the flowers on the table had a very nice effect, gave the room a very nice effect. It made it pretty. It gave it a nice effect. Notice it's used as a noun. It's the word effect. You see the difference between those two sentences? Listen to this video again for any of these that you may not quite get or it wasn't quite clear. You can always watch it again. Let's go to the next one. Beside or besides. This one I think most of you have gotten because I've mentioned this one before. Beside, by the side of, next to. We've actually done this with some of our oral language exercises at the beginning of class. So I know you know these. Beside and besides. Beside, we were fishing beside the river, right? Beside, next to. I was standing beside John, right? Besides, okay, in addition to. We've got to do this besides that, right? We've got to get our work done besides going to lunch today, you know, in addition to. We've got to do this and also this, right? There's no one here besides us, right? It's just us here, right? But if I said there's no one here beside us, well, that's the person standing right beside you. So there's no one here besides us in addition to us or other than us. So that's the difference with that one, with those two. Between and among. Between is referring to two. Among is more than two, so be three or more. So between, only two people or things. Between the two of us, right? Jack Sprat could eat no fat, his wife could eat no ling, and so between the two of them, they licked the plat to cling, all right? There's two, so you use between the two of them, right? They had a conversation between them, you know, but among is more than among, okay? The class discussed among themselves. There's more than two, so use among. Burst. This one's often misused as well. Burst means to break. Bust is actually a sculpture of the chest up to the head. Let's look at that first one, burst. The balloon burst, or it broke, or it popped, right? It did not bust. Now, I know we hear that often, The word bust. Oh, I busted it. No, you broke it or you burst it. Bust is another word. Have you ever seen one of those sculptures? It actually shows from the chest all the way up. Maybe a famous composer. I've seen those of Bach or Beethoven. I've seen them of some of the presidents like Abraham Lincoln or George Washington. A bust, a sculpture from about here up really refers to the neck part being included with the head, but not the whole body. That's a bust. All right. There is another use for it that has come into modern English. For example, to break up in policy, even the police officers, there's something called a drug bust where they get the bad guys. And it has been used in that sense. But for now, let's just focus on these two. And I don't want to confuse you with that by mentioning that. But you may have heard that before with that, which, you know, does sound more like that, doesn't it? But don't let that confuse you. Most of the time you're going to hear it to break, to burst, and a bust is a sculpture from around the chest area up. Have and of. Have is a helping verb, right? Have, has, had, do, does, did, right? Right. Of is a preposition. It's on your preposition list. So of should not be used as a helping verb. Of should not be used as a helping verb. Shouldn't. Have you ever done that before? I think we all have, or said, oh, I should have done that. I should have done that. I should have done that, not of. Of is a preposition. Of the two, he did best, right? He did better, I should say. Of is a preposition. Don't use of or have. You should have done it sooner. You should have done it sooner, if that's the sentence. You should have put that away. No, you should have put that away. So be careful with that. Let's go to the next one. Less and fewer. Less and fewer. Less cannot be counted. Fewer can be counted, right? It's a definite, countable amount. So there was less water in that cup than the other one. Yes. There were fewer pieces of candy in the jar today than there were yesterday. I guess because we ate some. Well, fewer, we can count the pieces of candy. You're not going to sit there and count all the water droplets, and it still wouldn't be accurate because they all stick together. So you can't really count that liquid and that kind of thing. So 2 examples of how you would use less versus fewer. Understand? There are fewer of this. You can count them. There's less of that. There's less heat in the atmosphere, right? You wouldn't say fewer because you can't really count that. But things you can count. There were fewer insects in the garden today or this year than last year or something like that. Because you could count that. Off is sufficient. What I mean is, don't say off of. You don't need the word of. In other words, get off the couch. Get off of the couch. Now, you don't, that's redundant to say of. So just say get off, right? Take the books off of the table. No, take the books off the table. You don't need the word of there. So don't say off of. Just say off. Let's go to the next one. There's a lot of these. Try and, try to. Again, don't say try and, say try to. Try to do your best, right? Try to do well. Don't say try and do it. Try and go. Try to. Try to. Try to, not try and. So don't say try and, say try to. I tried to do a good job. right? Wait on and wait for. To wait on is to serve. Oops. To wait on is to serve. You go to a restaurant. What happens? They wait on you. They serve you. They bring your food to you. Your mother, who loves you much, or your father is kind to you, maybe sometimes they bring you something. You're probably getting to the age where you need to do some of your own things and not just have your parents do it for you all the time. And you need to be responsible to do things. But sometimes, because they love you so much, they might make you pancakes and bring it to you, and your dear mother may serve them for you. Or father, perhaps. Wait on, then they're waiting on you, right? Maybe you're sick, you're ill, you're not feeling well, then you might get waited on, right? But to wait for means simply to stay. Boy, we've been waiting for them for an hour. Yes. You would not say, I've been waiting on them a long time. No, you'd be waiting for them. Wait for. Wait on means you're serving them. Understand the difference between wait on, where you're serving something. I'm going to wait on them. I'm waiting for them. I'm staying here. I'm waiting for them. I'm not waiting on them. I'm waiting for them. And that's the difference between those two. And then we're back to accept and accept. Again, one receiving and accepting, right? To agree to, and except for that, in exclusion of that. Back to the beginning. So those are what is new today. You have a paper on page 244 and 245. Look at the instructions. And again, I'm thinking of you. I really wish I were there to walk around the room and to see what you're doing right or what you're doing incorrectly, and I could catch it and help you. But things being as they are, I'm not there. So if there is something you need extra help with, please let me know. I want to help you. I want to include that in the video. And again, send a message to me. I hope you're getting everything that you need to in the language arts subjects, especially language. Going back and diagramming sentences, do you remember how to do that? Do you remember the word usage and other things? They may be different for different ones, but again, I really do miss seeing each and every one of you, and I hope you're doing a good job. I hope you're enjoying yourself too, even though things are not ideal at this time. But you take care, you do your best, and you be looking for the next video. You take care. God bless you all. Bye.